She screamed, "Don't move!" And that's when I saw the gun pointed at my daughter's face. The man's voice trembled as he said it, his hands shaking as he held the grocery bag. He didn't expect his quiet Sunday morning to turn into a standoff at the neighborhood gate. His daughter, Emily, was standing frozen, her badge tucked under her jacket, her calm eyes locked on the trembling security officer who had no idea who he was threatening. It started when they tried to drive into their own neighborhood. The new HOA security guy waved them down, claiming their car wasn't on the approved list. Emily rolled down the window, polite but firm. "Sir, we live here. My dad's owned this house for 20 years. But he wasn't listening. He glanced at her short hair, the plain clothes, and decided she was lying. "Step out of the vehicle. You're trespassing," he barked, hand already resting on the gun at his hip. Her father, Mark, stepped out slowly, hands raised. "Hey, easy man, this is my property. My name's on the deed." "Back off," the guard snapped, his voice shaking with fake authority. He wasn't real law enforcement, Mark could tell. His badge looked like something bought online. Emily's eyes narrowed. She said quietly, "Dad, don't move." That's when the gun came up. For a second, no one breathed. Mark's heart hammered in his chest. The guard's hands trembled, but he was drunk on power, the kind of man who wore a cheap uniform and thought it made him God. "Call the cops," he demanded, voice cracking. "I said now." Emily tilted her head, almost amused. "You sure about that?" He blinked, confused. "What?" "Calling the cops," she said, voice suddenly cold. "You sure that's what you want?" Something in her tone made him hesitate. It wasn't fear, it was control. Mark didn't understand what was happening, not yet, but he saw the shift. The security guard was sweating now, and Emily, she looked like she'd done this before. Because she had. He just didn't know, and neither did the man pointing the gun, that Emily wasn't just his daughter. She was an FBI tactical commander, and the next 5 seconds were going to change everything. The moment the guard's finger twitched near the trigger, Emily's voice cut through the air, low, firm, and commanding. "Put the weapon down, now." Her tone wasn't loud, but it hit like a command you couldn't ignore. Mark had never heard her speak like that before. The fake security guard blinked, startled, like his brain couldn't process what just happened. "I said, drop it," she repeated, stepping out of the car slowly, her hands raised, but her eyes never left his. Her movements were calm, measured, like every inch was calculated. "Ma'am, don't test me," the guard barked, voice trembling harder now. "You're trespassing. The HOA gave me full—" "The HOA doesn't authorize firearms," she cut him off. "You just committed armed assault on private property. You have 5 seconds to drop it before you lose your license and your freedom." He laughed nervously, thinking she was bluffing. "Lady, I am the law here." That was the wrong sentence. Emily's lips curled slightly. "Oh, really?" In one clean move, she stepped forward, twisted his wrist, and the gun was out of his hand before he even realized what happened. It hit the pavement with a sharp clang. She kicked it away and pinned his arm behind his back so fast, even her father's breath caught. "Dad, call the real cops," she said quietly. Mark fumbled with his phone, still stunned. "Emily, what? How?" The man struggled, yelling, "You're assaulting a security officer! You're going to jail for this!" Emily tightened her grip just enough to make him wince. "You think impersonating a federal officer is just a hobby? You pointed a gun at me and my father on our property." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "You have no idea who you just threatened." Mark could see it in her face now, the discipline, the precision, the authority. This wasn't his daughter, the college athlete. This was the other side of her, the one trained to lead raids and de-escalate crises. 2 minutes later, the sound of sirens echoed down the street, real police cars. The guard tried to speak again, his voice cracking. This is a mistake. The HOA told me." Emily looked at him, eyes cold. Then they just made a federal mistake. And as the officer stepped out of their cruisers, she calmly reached into her jacket, flipped it open, and revealed the badge that made every single cop freeze. "Special Agent Emily Ross, FBI Tactical Response Unit," she said, flashing it. "You might want to call your supervisor." Her father's phone slipped from his hand. He wasn't just shocked, he was proud and terrified of what was coming next. Because if the HOA sent this man, it meant they were hiding something much bigger. The cops looked at each other, unsure of what to do. One of them, Officer Daniels, cleared his throat. Agent Ross, ma'am, the HOA president already called dispatch. She said you two were the aggressors." Emily didn't flinch. "Of course she did," she said under her breath. Mark's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" Before anyone could say more, a white Lexus rolled up to the scene, tires crunching over the gravel. Out stepped a woman in her late 50s, tall, sharp, wrapped in a perfectly pressed blazer. Her hair was so stiff it looked like it had been sprayed into position. Karen, the HOA president herself. She walked straight past the cops, chin high, pointing her manicured finger at Emily and Mark. "Them! That's them! They tried to break through the gate, attacked my security officer, and threatened the HOA board." Emily folded her arms. "Your security officer pulled a gun on a federal agent?" Karen scoffed, fake laughing. "Oh, please, that's not what the footage shows." "Footage?" Emily's brow furrowed. Karen smirked. "Yes, we installed cameras at the gate. HOA policy. Everything's recorded. You can try your little FBI act all you want, sweetheart, but the video doesn't lie." Mark felt a chill run down his spine. He whispered, "Emily, what if she edited it?" Emily's jaw tightened. She did. Karen crossed her arms, confidence oozing. "You're trespassing on HOA property. This is a private road. You don't live here anymore. Your membership was revoked last week for non-compliance." Mark blinked, completely lost. "Non-compliance? I pay everything on time. What are you talking about?" Karen smiled sweetly. "The fence you built behind your house. It's against community aesthetics. You were warned." "That fence is on my land," Mark said firmly. "I had it surveyed." Her smile widened. "You mean our land. The HOA owns that strip, not you. So technically, when your daughter stepped on it today," she paused, enjoying every word, "she trespassed." Emily's eyes darkened, but she didn't raise her voice. She simply said, "You really want to play legal games with the FBI, ma'am?" Karen tilted her head. "Oh, I don't play games, dear. I win them." The cops looked uneasy, torn between two sides. Karen snapped her fingers at them. "Arrest them both. I already filed the report." Daniels hesitated. "Ma'am, we can't just—" "You can," Karen snapped. "Check your orders. It came from the city attorney's office." Emily's stomach dropped. The city attorney's office? That wasn't random. Someone higher up was helping Karen. Mark whispered, "Emily, what's going on?" She looked at him, calm but furious. "Someone's protecting her, and I think I know who." Karen smirked again, certain she'd won. But Emily just stared back, the look of someone who already had a plan. Because inside her SUV, hidden under the seat, was a black dash cam with every second of the real footage, including the moment that fake guard pointed a gun at her head. And when that video came out, it wouldn't just expose Karen. It would take down everyone helping her. Emily walked back toward the SUV slowly, her expression unreadable. The cops were talking among themselves, confused, glancing between her FBI badge and Karen's smug face. Karen whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "See, she's running off now. Typical." Emily didn't answer. She opened the driver's door, reached inside, and pulled out the small black dashcam. She wiped the dust off it with her sleeve and looked straight at Karen. "You like recordings, right?" she said calmly. Karen blanked. "Excuse me?" "This dashcam's been running since the gate," Emily continued. "Every second, including your guard drawing a weapon, aiming it at my father, and threatening to shoot." The color drained from Karen's face for half a second, but she quickly faked a laugh. Oh, please. Anyone can fake footage these days. The board won't even. Emily interrupted softly. It's timestamped, GPS tracked, and automatically backed up to the FBI server. That one sentence silenced everyone. Mark could see the officer's posture change immediately. Officer Daniels stepped forward, voice lower this time. Agent Ross, if that's true, we can review it right now. Karen's smile faltered, then twisted into anger. Don't you dare! That's private HOA business. You need a warrant for that. Emily looked right at her. You just made a federal claim when you ordered an armed officer to detain a government agent. That is federal business now. Karen took a shaky breath, realizing she just trapped herself. You can't do this! Emily leaned closer. I already did. She plugged the camera into the police cruiser's dashboard monitor. The footage began to play. Crisp, clear, undeniable. Everyone watched as the fake guard pointed the gun, yelling threats. The audio caught every word. Karen's voice could even be heard faintly on the radio. If they don't back down, make them leave. Use force if you have to. Silence. Then Daniels turned toward Karen slowly. Ma'am, is this your voice? Karen's face went pale. That's been edited. Emily folded her arms. You can lie all you want, but the metadata doesn't lie. Mark watched her, proud but shaken. He'd never seen his daughter like this, calm, powerful, unstoppable. Karen suddenly snapped, her voice rising. You think you can ruin me? I own this neighborhood. Emily tilted her head. No, you don't. You just control scared people. Karen's eyes burned with fury. You'll regret this. Emily smiled faintly. I doubt it, but you might regret what's coming next. Just then her phone buzzed. She checked the screen, an encrypted message from her bureau contact. 3 words. You were right. She looked up, locking eyes with Karen. Looks like this isn't just about an HOA anymore. The air grew heavier, tension crawling over everyone like static. Karen stood frozen, her eyes darting between the officers and Emily, trying to read what was happening. Emily's gaze was fixed on her phone. The encrypted message had a location ping, a government property registry, and a name attached to it. Robert Hale. Mark frowned. Who's that? Emily's jaw clenched. The city attorney, the one Karen claimed approved her report. Officer Daniels stepped closer. Wait, are you saying the city attorney's involved in this? Emily pocketed her phone. Not just involved, funding her. Karen's mask cracked. You have no proof of that. Emily turned to the officers. Check her HOA financials. You'll find unauthorized payments made to Hale Consulting Services. It's a shell company. Hale uses it to launder money through local HOAs for land acquisition. They bully homeowners into leaving so he can buy the property cheap through front buyers. Mark's eyes widened. So that's why she's been harassing people. The HOA wasn't about rules, it was about stealing land. Karen stepped back, voice trembling. You don't know what you're talking about. I was just following orders. Emily tilted her head slightly, a cold smirk on her lips. Then maybe you should have asked, whose orders? Before Karen could respond, another SUV pulled up, blacked out government plates. 2 men in suits stepped out, moving with that silent, precise energy only law enforcement carried. Agent Ross, one of them said, flashing his badge, we've been monitoring your channel. We need to talk to your suspects immediately. Karen's confidence completely shattered. Wait, suspects? You mean him, right? That guard? The agent shook his head. No, ma'am. You. Karen stumbled back. This is insane. You can't. But before she could finish, the second agent stepped forward and read her rights. The cops moved aside quietly, realizing this had gone way beyond their level. Mark stood still, watching as the woman who had terrorized half the neighborhood was handcuffed beside her own luxury SUV. But Emily wasn't smiling. Her face was hard, calculating. Because her phone buzzed again. Another message. This one just said, "Hale is leaving town tonight." Mark saw her expression and knew what it meant. "You're not done, are you?" he asked softly. Emily shook her head. "No, Dad. Karen was just the puppet." She looked down the road, the same road that led into town, where the real power sat behind office doors and city seals. "Now it's time," she said quietly, "to pull the strings that make the puppets dance." Night had fallen by the time Emily reached the city. The streets were quiet, slick from a light drizzle that made the streetlights shimmer. She parked 2 blocks away from the attorney's office, the same one whose name had popped up in the encrypted message, Robert Hale. Mark had begged her not to go alone, but Emily wasn't the kind of person who waited for backup when time was running out. She slipped out of the car, blending into the shadows, her black jacket zipped high. The building loomed ahead, glass front, marble sign, expensive enough to scream clean money, which only meant it wasn't. Through the window, she could see Hale still inside, pacing his office, talking on the phone. His body language was tense, desperate. She pulled out her phone and hit record, activating the remote listening device she'd placed near his building earlier, a trick she learned from field ops. "No, listen," Hale hissed into the phone. "Karen's handled. The HOA board won't talk. I'll have the land by next week. Yes, the federal agent showed up, but it's fine. She has no jurisdiction here." Emily smirked. Wrong again. Just then, a pair of headlights swept across the parking lot. She turned and froze. A black van rolled in slowly, stopping near the side entrance. 3 men stepped out, all in civilian clothes, but each one carried the unmistakable stance of hired muscle. Her heart tightened. Hale wasn't running, he was cleaning up. She pressed her comms. "Control, this is Ross," confirming multiple armed suspects outside Hale's office, requesting immediate tactical support. The radio crackled back with static, no signal. They jammed the line. Inside, Hale's voice rose, panicked now. "I said take her out. I don't care how. She has footage linking my accounts to the city projects. Just make it disappear." Emily exhaled slowly, whispering to herself, "All right then." She crouched behind a parked car, calculating the angles. She wasn't armed for a full confrontation, but she didn't need to be. A small flash drive in her pocket carried everything: the dashcam footage, the HOA files, and proof of Hale's shell companies. All she needed was to get it to the Bureau's main server before sunrise. The men started sweeping the area, flashlights slicing through the darkness. "Fan out," one of them muttered. "She's here somewhere." Emily waited until the closest one passed her, then moved, silent, quick. She slipped through the back alley, scaled the side ladder, and reached the roof within seconds. Rain brushed her face as she crouched low, watching the goons enter the building below. Her eyes locked on the office window. Hale was stuffing files into a briefcase now, hands shaking. Mark's words echoed in her mind, "Don't go alone." But she had to, because if Hale got away, every family in that neighborhood, including her father, would lose everything. Emily took a breath, pulled her phone out, and opened a private bureau line using an old tactical code. "Command access, Ross Delta 7, she whispered. "Initiating upload. Evidence package, HOA Lake. Authorization, Ross, Emily, TR Command." The screen blinked. Uploading, 43%. Inside, Hale looked up suddenly, as if sensing something. He moved toward the door. And then, a voice behind Emily said quietly, "You shouldn't have come alone, Agent Ross." She spun around. It wasn't one of Hale's men. It was Officer Daniels, the same cop from the gate, holding a silenced pistol, his badge glinting faintly under the rain. For a moment, Emily just stared at him, rain dripping down her face. Her mind raced. Daniels, the officer who seemed hesitant at the gate, who had almost defended her, was now standing there with a gun aimed right at her chest. Her voice was steady. "So you're in on it too." He sighed, stepping closer. "It's not like that, Agent Ross. You don't understand what you're walking into." "Oh, I understand just fine," she said, eyes narrowing. "You've been Hale's inside man, feeding him police intel, making sure every complaint against the HOA disappears." Daniels flinched slightly, guilt flashing across his face. "I didn't have a choice. They've got people everywhere. City Hall, the sheriff's office, even federal contacts. You can't stop them." Emily took a slow step back, buying time. The upload on her phone was still running, 78%. "You really think they'll protect you once this blows up?" she asked. "You're just another name on his payroll." Daniel shook his head. "You think you're the hero, but you don't know Hale. He's not scared of the FBI. He owns them." She smiled faintly. "He doesn't own me." A flash of lightning cut through the sky, illuminating them both. For a split second, Emily saw something in Daniel's eyes. Regret. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I can't let you send that file." He raised the gun. Emily didn't hesitate. She kicked the loose rooftop gravel into his face, dove sideways, and the silenced shot cracked through the rain. The bullet grazed her shoulder, a white-hot sting, but she was already moving. She rolled, grabbed the metal antenna beside her, and slammed it into his arm. The gun clattered across the roof. Daniels tried to tackle her, but she spun behind him, locked his wrist, and pinned him face down. Her voice was low and furious. "Who else is in this, Daniels? Who's helping Hale?" He groaned, breathing hard. "You're too late. He's leaving with the files right now. There's a jet waiting for him at Brookfield Airstrip." Her eyes widened. That was 15 minutes away. She tightened her grip. "You're going to help me stop him." He laughed weakly. "You won't make it in time." Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Upload complete. She leaned close to his ear. "Then at least the whole country will know what he's done." She stood up, leaving him handcuffed to a rooftop vent, grabbed his keys, and bolted down the fire escape. As she jumped into her SUV, the dashboard lit up. Bureau signal restored. A voice crackled through her comms. "Agent Ross, we received your upload. Commands authorizing full intercept. Do you require backup?" She floored the gas, tires screaming as the SUV tore through the wet streets. "Negative. I just need 10 minutes." In the distance, a small private plane's lights blinked through the fog, engines starting to spin. And Emily, gripping the wheel tight, whispered to herself, "Not tonight." Rain poured harder as Emily's SUV roared down the deserted road toward Brookfield Airstrip. Her wounded shoulder throbbed with every turn of the wheel, but she didn't care. Not when she could see the faint outline of Hale's jet ahead, its engines whining, ready to take off. Her phone buzzed again. Her father. She answered, breath ragged. "Dad, not now." "Emily, please, the news is showing it. Your footage, it's everywhere." Mark's voice shook with emotion. "People are watching what they did. You did it, honey." Emily's throat tightened. "Not yet. He's still running." "Don't do anything crazy," her father pleaded. "Just come home." She almost smiled. "I promise, Dad." Then she hung up and pressed the accelerator to the floor. The jet began to roll forward. Hale was visible near the stairs, briefcase in hand, yelling at the pilot. Emily swerved her SUV onto the runway, tires spraying water. The plane lights flashed, warning her to move. But she didn't. She spun the wheel hard and blocked the jet's path, engine growling. Hale turned, stunned, his expensive coat whipping in the wind. Emily stepped out slowly, one hand pressed to her bleeding shoulder, the other raised, not with a weapon, but with a phone still recording. "Robert Hale," she shouted over the roar of the engines, "you're under federal investigation. It's over." He laughed, the kind of cold, arrogant laugh only men like him had. "You think you've won, Agent Ross? The system protects people like me. You're just a pawn." Emily took a few steps closer, the rain washing blood and dirt off her jacket. Then maybe it's time someone broke the board. Hale's smile faded when he saw the flashing lights behind her, a convoy of bureau SUVs and police cruisers speeding down the runway. The upload had worked. Command had tracked his escape in real time. He tried to run back toward the jet, but 2 FBI agents tackled him to the ground. The briefcase flew open, spilling stacks of documents, fake deeds, wire transfers, payoff lists, all soaked by the rain. Emily stood there, breathing hard, watching him struggle as the cuffs clicked shut. Mark's voice echoed in her mind again, "Just come home." And for the first time that night, she allowed herself to breathe. Officer Daniels was right. The corruption went deeper than she'd imagined. But tonight wasn't about the system. It was about one neighborhood, one father, one truth that refused to stay buried. As Hale was dragged away, he turned to her and spat, "You'll regret this, Ross. You can't fix the world." Emily looked at him quietly, eyes steady. "Maybe not, but I can fix my corner of it." The rain eased, softening to a drizzle. Blue and red lights reflected off the puddles as dawn began to creep over the horizon. Her phone rang again. She answered. "Emily?" It was her dad, his voice cracking with relief. She smiled faintly. "It's done, Dad. You're safe now." Mark exhaled shakily. "I always knew you were strong. I just didn't know how strong." Emily looked back at the jet, at the men in cuffs, and whispered, "You taught me to stand my ground. I just did it on a bigger field." She climbed back into her SUV, hand trembling slightly as she turned the key. And as she drove home, back to her father, back to the lake, back to the quiet she'd fought to protect, a single thought lingered in her mind. Sometimes justice doesn't wear a badge. Sometimes it's just a daughter protecting her family. The camera would have faded out there, her SUV disappearing down the wet road, headlights cutting through the mist, as her father's voice whispered over the sound of rain. "She's not just my daughter, she's my hero."